Well, welcome everyone to our Go Live map event for the 2022 cohort. We're so delighted that you're here with us. Happy Valentine's Day for everyone. I hope you had a great day yesterday. Happy start to the spring semester. Happy Super Bowl for me, at least, and all the Rams fans in the room. So it was a good day for us on Sunday, and that was a fun game to watch. But I don't know about you, but we're starting up spring right now, and it's a little bit busy. So I know that this time is precious that you've given us today, and so we'll try to make it worth your while. My name is Samuel Lee. I'm the VPAA at Norco College, and also the lead for MAP, this MAP initiative. And also on this call with us on our team is Mark Diasis, our Dean of Enrollment Services and our MAP administrator, and Terrence Nelson, our MAP project consultant and regional project lead as well. A lot of you know Terrence from his work in the state, in CPL for many years. Janelle Brecky, our amazing evaluator, who is supporting MAP, and Calvin Klein-Gloria, our MAP project expert who keeps everyone informed and in touch and engaged. Pedro Campos, our MAP Chief Architect, is with us today, and Weston Kilbride, our MAP Customer Success Manager, as well as Brooke Goins, our MAP Customer Success Manager. So Weston and Brooke and Calvin would be folks that you'll get to know quite well. So you've already done this. You've already introduced yourself in the chat. Thank you very much for that. If you haven't, please make sure you add your name, your college, and your role. Today, we will be focusing on just 4 things. Configuring the platform to make sure it's ready for your use. Creating articulations. So this will be your first chance to actually create articulations today. We're excited about that. And then we'll give you a very brief introduction to our new student intake module, and as well to our articulation adoption process. Now, before I get further along, I want to just give you an idea of what our strategy moving forward. We look at this endeavor to ensure that our veterans get all the credit they deserve as a joint endeavor that involves you all, us all, as a community. So we're community colleges, but in this initiative, we're thinking of you all more as a community of colleges. So we hope to lean on your existing and your growing expertise in credit for prior learning and military credit for prior learning as we move along, as we develop this platform, as we develop our best practices. We hope to do so together. And we hope to have all of contributions from all 53 colleges now in the cohort. So we don't want you to think that this is something that everything will happen from our end and sort of a top-down approach. Really, we're looking at this more as a crowdsourcing opportunity for everyone to add where they have strength, where they have resource, where they have ability. At the same time I say that, please don't feel any pressure. Terrence and I were talking about this before we came on at the meeting today, and want you to feel relaxed and at ease about this whole initiative. We're taking a long-term approach here, not a short-term flash in the pan approach. We know it's busy right now. We just personally came out of a very difficult time with COVID, with Omicron. I'm sure many of you have stories to tell. We had more than half of our staff and management out on some form of leave for a couple of weeks very recently. And so we just had a difficult time keeping things moving forward as normal. And if that's how it has been for us, we anticipate that you've experienced something similar. And so we know that just keeping the doors open, just getting the students enrolled and coming to class is a big feat right now. And so we want you to feel no pressure and and to take a long-term approach to this. Terrence, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, it's wonderful to see well over 100 folks here. For some of you, it's your day 2 of your spring semester. Others, we're a couple weeks in, but we're glad to see you here. We understand there's dozens of colleges getting involved, but we also want to be realistic, as Dr. Lee was stating. This is a long-term approach to credit for prior learning. We have some all-stars in the state, some exemplary institutions and individuals, all the way from Palomar to Coastline. Many of us have been involved in this for a while, but as a whole, as a state, we haven't tackled this together. And, as Dr. Lee was stating, we want to build this learning community, this community of colleges to help each other move forward for the long term, for the betterment of our reentry students. Beyond our military students, all reentry students deserve credit that they've already earned. And we as institutions don't want them to take redundant curriculum. I do want to hit on a couple points. One, I think 2022 is going to be a massive year for CPL and our reentry students in the state. We collectively can make it a massive year and a game changer moving forward out of COVID. We hope this system, this new tool, will help you with that. But it's also the connections in the community and the relations you build within this group, this cohort, that's going to help move the ball forward for all of our reentry students post COVID. The main goals, really, and we're going to go through these for the month, aren't large. They aren't massive goals. We're going to try to chip away at this slowly as you integrate into the MAP system. And we'll go through those today. But really, if you're able to review and ensure your curriculum in MAP is correct, set up your accounts and your workflows in MAP, and then kind of kick the tires of MAP a little bit for articulations. That's really what we're looking for at the beginning stages of this. And then moving forward, we hope to start adopting a lot of articulations that you can use for your students and start to transcript. But really, we're going to start slow here because we know you have competing priorities. So I'll hand it back to Dr. Lee, but very excited for 2022 and for you all in this cohort. It's an exciting time for our reentry students in our colleges.
Thank you, Terrence. So we are taking a phased approach to this. We won't lay out everything for you today. We're going to try and focus on key areas, give you a taste of what you need to see, and then help you focus on what we hope you can focus on in the next month, which is to really get your data in order and get started creating articulations. On Fridays moving forward, every 2 weeks thereabout, we'd like to give you more focused opportunities to meet with our team to discuss areas of focus. Like today we're going live. On March 4th, we'd like to talk about the articulation adoption module more in depth and get some more practice with using that. And then in the coming weeks, tackle a variety of topics in more detail with you. So we don't want you to feel like you have to be an expert on this right away. We'll just roll it out in every 2 weeks format. Next slide. We also want you to know we'll have open office hours for you, available for you. And so on Wednesdays from 10 to 11, we'll have open office hours for MAP ambassadors and college leadership, just to talk about issues that you might be dealing with, questions you might have, supports that you might need. And then on Fridays from 9 to 9:50, we'll have time for evaluators, AOs, SCOs, and counselors, and as well 10 to 11 with faculty reviewers and faculty leads. And those will just be informal times where we are available on Zoom for anyone who pops in and wants to discuss things of concern. Here's our agenda for today. We will take the next 30 minutes and guide you through our college contact updates, user setup, the configuration of approval queue, and our data upload. So at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Weston.
Hi, everyone. I'm Weston. I am the support contact here at MAP, or for MAP, and for all of you. And like Dr. Lee said earlier, we will probably get to know each other pretty well, as this is a community of new users. Plenty of support will be provided throughout the process. So please, whatever you do, don't panic. I am going to be sending out an email here soon, and I'm hoping that it actually reaches all of you. If you are not the MAP ambassador or the primary contact for your college, you will not have access to the platform at this time. I did put a note for those MAP ambassadors and those primary contacts who are receiving this email to forward this email to you if they're receiving it today. So please be patient if you're not able to log in during the first portion of this meeting. It's not a problem. I put a contact on here as well so that you can reach out whenever needed. I would give it till about 11 a.m. though, just in case I know lines get crossed and people are busy. So be patient and just follow along with the meeting if you can't do anything else at this time. So sending that right along, and yeah, let's begin. So okay, so yes, as you receive that email, so we'll give it a few moments. You should be checking your emails at this point. That again went out to about, I believe, all 52 MAP ambassadors and maybe more. So my apologies for getting that out at this time. We'll pause for a moment, check your email, check your junk email too, because that went out to quite a few users. So I know people may be experiencing it landing in their junk inbox. Again, if you are not the MAP ambassador or the primary contact for your college, you are just as important as the MAP ambassador and the primary contact for your college, but we just don't have your name on that list. So hopefully they'll be sending that along and you will be able to follow the instructions. I'm going to actually pull up that email as well so I can see what I just sent. There will be actually, I'm going to kind of walk you through that as you're receiving it as well. So you know everything that's going on right now and what to expect. Just pull that open. So today, as of right now, the majority of schools ambassadors have been configured with their username and their password. You'll receive that in the email, or your MAP ambassador or primary contact will be receiving that in the email.
If you did receive the email, just give us a thumbs up or a confirmation in the chat, and we can see a thread of whoever has been able to receive that and log in.
And again, please check your junk, just in case I landed there. Okay, let's see. Thank you guys again for providing that information. And it should be coming from a Norco College email.
Looks like most folks have not received it, Weston.
Okay, let me just pull it up then, and I can just show you the email. Oh yeah, it's still in the outbox. Okay. Okay, so I will have it open. It should be.
Weston, if they haven't received the email, then we could just put a link to the login in the chat. And if they use their first initial and last name, they should be able to log in. Is that not right?
Yes, that's correct. It should be. It also is saying that it should be going through on my end now. Again, sorry, my computer's been super busy this morning. She's a little tired. So I'm gonna actually, I can share my screen and I'll pull it up for you guys. Okay, yay, good. I'm excited you guys are receiving it. So in case you are not receiving it, I'm going to show you. So if your MAP ambassador or if your main contact is busy right now, which I imagine many people are, we're going to just go through this together. So let's see.
And my name's Brooke, and I'm also a customer success manager at ITPI, and I'm watching the chats and I'm following up as to who may not be receiving those. So I'll follow up with you in a direct email. So thank you for your patience.
So you will, again, MAP ambassadors have been configured in the system. There are a few schools that are listed below who have not been configured at this time. If you are one of those schools, please be patient with us. We're gonna get you in there, I promise. If you are a MAP ambassador or a primary contact, you can access the military articulation platform. Again, did we put the link in the chat? I can put it in again. And this is just to the login screen. So you are going to use your first initial, last name, all lowercase, no spaces, very basic general login, and then your password. There is a change password flow chart that I'll go through as well in case you are not sure of where to go. to do so, but it's in your profile.
Okay,
And then you are going,
can we just
go
slow
ahead.
down just a little bit?
Yeah,
So you'll first want to click the link and get the map login. And your first initial and last name will be your username. And then your password is just password, all lowercase. So we'd like to see if you could try that right now. Even if you don't receive the email, you should be able to log in.
as a MAP ambassador or primary.
That's right. If you're the primary contact or MAP ambassador, you should be able to log in using those credentials, even without the email.
Okay, great. And I'm seeing some people are getting in. Thank you for the feedback. Awesome. Okay, so then again, those of you who are not recognized as a MAP ambassador or primary contact have not been input into the system as a user. That will happen through your MAP ambassador at a later date,
Or,
or later time. And then here, if you are part of one of these colleges, it's possible that you cannot yet access, but we are working on getting your names in the system for those colleges.
okay, so let me see if I can share my screen. So I have the login here, and I'm going to log in as myself and go to, you're not going to see this screen. This is a administrative screen, but let me go to settings, which is where we would like you to go when you open up MAP and successfully log in. We want you to go to settings. I got there by clicking on this, we call it the hamburger right here. Go to settings and go to ambassador. And once you open ambassador, it'll take you to your contacts sheet. And so I'd like to see if you could give me a thumbs up, or if you're able to get this far.
Also, if your college had both a MAP ambassador and a primary contact, the MAP ambassador, the email and the user credentials as well.
So I'm not seeing any thumbs up. So has anyone been able to get this far?
Within the image provided in the email, it shows that you actually have to click into the menu, that burger menu. You went through that, correct, Dr. Lee? So make sure that you're going into that step. Okay.
So I'm seeing some folks can't log in. So, okay, Porterville College.
Thank you. Thank you, Jonathan. Let's see.
I'm currently reaching out to the colleges right now that might be having some issues. So you'll be getting an email from me shortly.
Yes.
Okay, Citrus hasn't gotten the email.
Okay, I do know. Let's see. Taking it slow.
I see why Citrus hasn't. Nicole Smith is the ambassador, but there's no email for her.
Right. Yes, I can actually add that ambassador as of right now.
Okay.
If somebody, thank you. Citrus College. Thank you, guys.
Okay, Shelley, are you in for San Diego City and Mesa?
I'm in for Miramar, but I can't see City or Mesa.
Okay, yeah. For right now, we are focusing on single colleges. The single
Okay.
College view today.
Okay.
So you're in Miramar?
I'm in Miramar.
Okay, great.
And can we update the information like
Yes, you can
Okay.
actually. Let me show you. For those who are this far, let me show you how to update your information. So when you click the hamburger menu and you go to settings, click ambassador, it takes you to this workflow right here. Here's where you update all your information for all the different roles at your college. So you can do that actually right now as we speak, if we take the next couple of minutes to do that. So I'm seeing Bakersfield lists our VP as the ambassador. Go ahead and change that Bakersfield right in this view. As the ambassador, you can change any of the information in here. And we see from Tina, I'm not sure where you're from, hamburger menu has no options.
Tina.
And college, okay, good. And C Rose at Palomar needs the email.
Thank you.
Also, same as Tina, we have Erica and Nicole. I think that means no option in nothing in the hamburger menu here. It could be that we don't have you configured as a user yet. If you're seeing that, I would anticipate we may not have you configured as the map ambassador from our records. So if you're having an issue, maybe put your college name in the chat.
We have 2 questions, Dr. Lee.
Okay.
Go ahead, Mr. Joseph.
Can you tell me again the method to try to log in? Because I wasn't listening to that. I was trying to see how to get to the, you know what I'm saying. So what do you put for username? What do you put for password?
Okay. So Weston just put another link in the chat just in case you missed the first link. But let's say you're at that login, you would put your first initial, last name, no space, first initial, last name. That's your username. And then password is just all lowercase password.
I will try that.
All right.
Great, Sam.
Yes.
So 2 of the Compton College people have been able to log in, the Articulation Officer, but she doesn't have a hamburger menu. And Dr. Jimenez, who's sort of, I guess, co-ambassador with me, got the email. And so he's in. But how does he add people? Because I never got the email for Compton College.
Okay, let me just go to Compton College and show you. Going to settings.
Oh, okay, settings.
Ambassador. So Dr. Jimenez, we would need your email on here and you could change your evaluator's Lauren Sasenko, and we would need her email as well.
But my email is in there,
Your email is there, right, Sherry Berger?
but I can't log in.
You can't log in with S Berger?
Nope.
Okay.
That's probably because we only have the one map ambassador in there, but I will log you in now.
Okay. Weston is on it, Sherry.
Thank you, Sherry.
I could add, I see where I could add it now. I got to go through the whole thing first, and now I can add primary roles, first name, last name, email.
That's right.
I see Weston nodding her head. Okay. Awesome. So you want me to do it, or you're going to take care of that?
You can actually do that. I would be happy if you did that. That'd be great.
Okay.
Once in, what do we do?
So now once you successfully log in, go to this hamburger menu here, click settings and go to ambassador. That'll take you to your hub to get all your folks set up correctly. Okay, so now let's assume you have this set up correctly. you'll want to go to the next level of the workflow by clicking next over here on the side. And what this does is it allows you to set up your approval queue. And the approval queue starts with the evaluator level. And so every college is going to need to start, I believe, with the evaluator level as a default. And the next level in the approval queue is faculty. And most every college is going to want to have faculty as an approver for an articulation. So that should be set up for you. If you're in this screen and it's not set up for you, you can click add users and add a user, but I won't do that just yet. I want to go through the rest of these stages first. The next stage is the articulation officer. Now this stage will require your decision at your college. At this stage, the articulation officer can be set up to approve an articulation, approve or deny, or just add notes or information as needed. This is a decision for you to make at your college. If you have a tradition of the articulation officer having an active role in approving equates that are made by evaluators or faculty, or approving articulations, then you might want to consider having this articulation officer as an approver. And in this case, in our case, approval is required. You could change that to no approval required and the articulation moves forward after 5 days. No approval required, articulation moves forward after 10, and no approval required moves forward after 20. This, if you set to one of these waiting period days, that would give your AO a chance to open articulations, view them, and add any notes or comments they have on transferability or appropriateness or strength of an articulation. So we would recommend that you have this not as an approving level, because it tends to be, in our experiences, tend to be a bottleneck because AOs are so busy, and it's difficult for them to keep up with the workflow if you're doing a lot of articulations. But if you set it as a waiting period, they can add any sort of notes, additional information to an articulation as it goes through. And then the last level is just a default level implementation. If you want to bypass any stage, you could click here to bypass that stage. But we recommend that you keep your stages, for now, all open. A 4-tier stage approval process we would recommend moving forward. Now, when I click add users, this is going to give me a view of the users at Norco College. Now, one of the main things you're going to need to do today as ambassadors, or you want to keep it in your notes to do, is to add a faculty reviewer. Because a faculty reviewer is based by discipline. And so you will have different faculty reviewers for Spanish as opposed to chemistry or biology or math. Each of those disciplinaries might have a different faculty reviewer. And so you'd want to be able to set up that reviewer. It might be a department chair, or it might be a particular faculty lead in that area. It would be anyone who's designated to approve or comment on an articulation that has been forwarded to them. And the way you add a faculty reviewer is over on this left side. We're going to create a faculty, and I'm just going to create here test faculty with test last name, and test at, put in their email, and their username is test for this purpose, and their password is going to be password default. And I'm gonna save this, save that user. And so now that user has been saved, and they're down here somewhere in my list. There they are right there. Your list will be much shorter than mine, but there they are right there. Now, when I click on them, I'm going to add a discipline to them. And I do that down here. I'm going to add a role for this person, and they are my faculty. Click check. And now I'm going to add a discipline. And I'm going to choose accounting and save that. So now I have a faculty member called Test, who is our faculty reviewer for accounting at Norco. And that's the process you'll go through for adding each discipline reviewer that you would have. If you've lost track of that, don't worry. We have a user guide that will lead you through this, and you can go back and refer to it in the future. Okay, let me go back to this process. So that's the process we want you to, the MAP ambassadors particularly, to complete either today or in the next week or 2 or 3. If you can pick just one area that you might want to do an articulation with and set up one faculty reviewer, that would be a major accomplishment moving forward. Okay, if we move next, now we need to make sure that your course information, your catalog information, and your program information is current and up to date.
Is there a way that we can change the approval sequence on that one page? Just because I'm probably going to assume that at most colleges, it'll need faculty approval first for each course before it moves on to the next stage.
So right now we have it set up so that an evaluator creates a pairing or a link between a course and a credit recommendation. When they actually approve that, it's really just sending it forward to faculty. Faculty are the ones, is the role that will actually approve or deny the articulation moving forward. And once it moves forward from the faculty, it goes to the AO for either approval or just notes. That depends on your college. And then once that process, that step is complete, it's implemented. So really the design of this is intended to put the faculty as the approver or denier in that second stage, so that they can, if they deny it moving forward, it won't go forward to the AO. If they approve it moving forward, it goes forward to the AO. Does that make any sense, Juan?
It does. I mean, if there's a way that we could make those changes ourselves, just because I know that at my campus, it may not work that way.
How do you see it working at your campus, Juan?
It'll probably work with the CPL coordinator or myself as a VRC counselor, submitting these requests to the faculty for approval.
Oh, I see. Yeah. So then you would just set yourselves up as the evaluator. So if you're the SCO, you can still occupy the role of evaluator. Whatever. So think of your college, the typical roles at your college, and don't let those constrain you. If at your college a counselor is the one who creates those links, or the AO creates those links at the first level, or the SCO does, go ahead and put that person's role as the evaluator, and that way they can be the initiator of the articulation recommendation, which goes forward to faculty. Would that work for your process, Juan?
It would. Thanks.
Okay. And yes, the instructions will be sent out. We have a we have that actually in the platform. I'll show you in just a moment. Okay, folks, this is an important area to talk about. We've pulled all of your curriculum from Koki, and it's downloaded into MAP. The good news about that is that we've pulled all your curriculum for you. The bad news about that is not all curriculum data in Koki is clean, and often it can be a little bit messy, and it depends on your college and your MIS rules for submitting to Koki, or your process for submitting to Koki. So we would like you to look at your course, your catalog description tab right here.
May I ask a question, please?
Go ahead.
My name's Diane Spork, the Senior Evaluator at Merced College. And so in relation to the Koki data, is it current, or do you have deactivated information in there also?
Right now, we're filtering only for active information.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. If you, Koki has all sorts of inactive and historic data as well. It also has active and approved. So right now, I think we're pulling both active and approved. And as you look through your data here, we would want you to proof it. And the best way to do that is to export it. So right now I'm going to export our data, and it pulls up a little familiar type of Excel export. And I'm going to open it, and I'm going to click yes to trust that. And here's the data that I just exported from Norco. Now yours, when you export it, won't have these catalog descriptions because those don't reside in Koki, unfortunately. We pulled those separately, and we added them to a spreadsheet just like this, and we uploaded it into MAP. So we would ask you to do the same, to look at your, to export your course list that's pulled from Koki, clean it up, and once you clean it up, you can upload it. So right over here is where you would check to upload your file with the data. So you have three choices. You can enter the data directly onto this page, you can upload a file with the data, or you can work with ITPI to create an API integration, which is an automatic program interface between MAP and your curriculum system. We recommend the easiest way right now is to upload the file.
Can I ask a quick question here?
Sure.
So you've only imported the data once from Koki, and there's no link back to that data again. So that's a one and done?
That's right. That's a one
Okay.
and done right now.
And then when you pulled the catalog descriptions, where did you pull those from?
We pulled those from our own student information system.
So then those are lacking on all other colleges' sites.
That's
presently.
right.
So we have to bring in the catalog description as well.
That's right. Unfortunately, Koki doesn't have it. Actually, to tell you the truth, in our instance of MAP, we created an API with CurricuNet. And so we don't have to touch this. Whenever it's updated, it's automatically updated in MAP because of that API with CurricuNet. So if you would like to do a similar, if you have a curriculum management system that you would like to create an API with, you can check this box and actually work with ITPI to get the parameters for them to set up that API. We list that as an option. It depends on your IT support. We try not to assume that you're going to be able to rely on IT support on your end. So we want you to be able to work independently. If you have IT support and there is a doorway to create an API in your student information system or your curriculum management system, certainly you can work with ITPI to do that by contacting Weston or Brooke, your customer success managers. Another easy way is just to upload the file. So here's the sample file right here. I clicked upload the file. you can download a sample file, which will include all the data that we have from Koki for you. And then you can work with someone in IT or your curriculum specialist at your college and download add your catalog descriptions, and then just go ahead and upload it. And then it'll be in MAP. As soon as you can do that, it'll be in MAP instantaneously. That's really important to do initially, and that might take you an hour to do, or it might take you a month to do, depending on just what type of support you have from IT. If you had to, you could have this just entered manually. I wouldn't recommend that, but it can be added manually.
Another question, Dr. Lee, from Shelley Health.
Yep.
I think someone just asked this in the chat too. So when I get to this section, I don't have any data.
There's no
From
data
Miramar.
from
There's
Miramar.
no course. There's no course title. There's no units. Is there? I mean, 'cause there's no content at all. Can we upload from an Excel file in the directions? Does it give us like all the
Yes, you can.
information?
Yes, if you click the sample file for Miramar, it should it'll give you the 3 fields that you need to.
I don't have that button.
You don't have that button. Oh, click on upload a file.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
Yeah. It won't show.
Isn't this where our data should have come from Koki?
Pardon me?
So the base data, not the catalog description, things like that, but the base data, shouldn't that have come from Koki?
Yes, it should. It should. So if Miramar is not showing that, we can have Weston look into that, and they get that fixed for you today.
Okay.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me
Just
too.
as a note on relational data, that I put together the pathway project, and the pathway project, inside of that, it requires a same type of spreadsheet on the upload. And so if you don't have IT support but have built your pathways, that you might be able to do the modification to one of the sequential worksheets for the upload to get this working for you.
That's a great point. Most of you will have this in some form somewhere else with your guided pathways, maybe your curriculum, committee will have it. And so, yeah, you don't want to try and reinvent the wheel. If you're not showing any data here, we need to get that fixed, and we get that fixed right away. So put that in the chat if you would, and then Weston and Brooke and Calvin will get on that today.
And if you could direct those messages, that would be fantastic, because it helps to filter out those questions as well. Thank you.
Great. Okay, now the same thing we need, if you would like your student learning outcomes listed. Not everyone will want your student learning outcomes listed, and you don't have to have them listed, but we find it useful at Norco to have them listed. So it's the same process for exporting. What we really don't have anything from Koki for your student learning outcomes. So you would need to put together, you can click again, upload the file, pick your sample file, and then complete that sample file and then upload it. And then your student learning outcomes will be in the system. Don't let the student learning outcomes stop you from using MAP. The catalog description doesn't have to stop you either. If you have no support, you don't have to have the catalog description in MAP. It's just nice to have it when you're unsure of the content of a course.
Another question, Dr. Lee, from Mr. John.
Maybe you just answered by saying we don't have to have the catalog description, but I noticed that in the sample file, you also included, besides the description, the lecture and lab hours per semester. Is that just a practice you have at Norco, or is that a recommended practice?
Yeah, we have more information in our Norco instance, so you don't have to have that.
Okay, all right.
And another one from Melissa.
Okay.
Thank you. One more question related to the course data. Are faculty, once they're assigned those courses, able to update this data themselves?
This data is updatable by the MAP ambassador.
Only.
Yeah.
So no other.
Right.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah, we really want to have this data stable, your course data stable. And so we think by having fewer people touch that, the better.
Yeah, that's ideal for sure. Thank you.
Good, good. Okay. Thank you for the questions. Keep them coming. We find it useful in our instance of MAP to have our cross-listed families included. That way, when you're creating, so we would like you to download and re-upload your short list of cross-listed families. So in this case, we have a business 3, which is also can be offered as Cat 3. And so here's the parent. Business 3 is the parent, and these are the child courses. So either Cat or Cis can be cross-listed with business 3. This helps you. So if you create an articulation for business 3, it also creates the articulation for Cat 3 and CIS 3. You don't have to do triple the work. So this is a real time saver, and it also really helps the integrity of your articulation. So this is worth doing. You really should spend time and do this. Questions on this one?
Yeah, if you articulate the child, does the parent get articulated too? Does it work the other way?
Pedro, I believe it does. Can you answer that question?
Yes, every children in the family will get articulated as well at the time that you articulate the parent class.
But if you articulate the child, the parent won't get articulated.
Yeah, it will go the other way also. And any member of the family, once you create the articulation, the other members will get the articulation credit automatically.
I believe, Pedro, it doesn't matter which course you set as the parent. You just need a constant in that parent position. So it could be, you could put Cat 3 as the parent and put business 3 over here. Not to confuse the matter, but parent and child in this case really is not consequential. We just want to create the family.
That is correct.
Okay.
Dr. Lee, if we've covered that point, there was a question that I received in the chat that was a private one, but I want to bring it out for the whole group. We do understand that there are folks in the audience today that maybe didn't attend previous sessions about CPL or about MAP. So it's kind of a basic question, but I want to clear the air on it because so many folks involved in articulations here. The question was, what's the difference between TESS, college source, and MAP? So the basics is that MAP is the glue between the ACE database, the military curriculum that's been reviewed by ACE, and your curriculum. TESS does not do that linkage. So it does the linkage in MAP as well as routing the process for review and approval. So TESS is a great database for all articulations at the end of the process. But without MAP, you wouldn't be able to get those clean, clear, automated articulations through your system. So that's the basics. TESS is a great repository at the end, but MAP is the glue and the connection, as well as it leads to the clear protocols and process for CPL at your college.
Great. Thank you, Terrence. Okay, now for the fun stuff. We're not to the fun stuff yet, by the way. This is not the fun stuff. If you have existing articulations, you can import them into MAP. And so we hope you do. And we know many of you do have existing articulations. Currently, we are importing just military CPL at this point. Later, we'll be importing all forms of CPL. But currently, this is for military CPL. And if you would like to upload that, click that button and generate the sample file, work on it, and then upload it, and your articulations will be included in MAP. And Pedro, can you, I believe are these added at the implementation level, meaning they're completed, or do they need to go through the approval queue?
They will go to the approval queue. As soon as they get implemented, they will go to the first stage in the workflow.
Okay. They'll go through the approval queue as if there were new articulations, but I believe you can set MAP to bypass the approval queue as well, just push it right to implementation, depending on your user level, if you're the MAP ambassador. So if you know that these have already been through the approval queue, you don't need to go through that whole process again. You can push it right to implementation. We'll talk about that later. And then program description is just like course description. We found it helpful to have program description in our MAP instance. I think if I were to do it over again, I might not include program description because I find it's just not so helpful in making the decision on articulating courses. At one time we thought it might be, and so that's why we added it. And we keep it as an option for you if you want to add your program of study. So we've uploaded all your programs of study from Koki as well. And having the program description may or may not be helpful. But regardless, you do want to proof your programs of study that we have downloaded from Koki and make sure they all look good. If there are any errors, correct those errors and upload them back into the system. But this is very helpful to have all your programs of study in one place. There are many uses for this, even beyond MAP, we'll talk about it later. And then if you have program learning outcomes, at this point, just work with Weston or Brooke and we can upload those into the system for you. And if you have program requirements, this is where we would actually configure MAP with your required, your elective, and your optional courses for all your programs of study. This would be done individually because we haven't yet found a trustworthy way of putting those in a table that works for all colleges. There's just too many variations on required coursework and options and electives to make a systematic single table. But that is available to you for upload later on, and you'd work with Weston and Brooke on that. So that is way more than you ever wanted to know about your data upload, but this is a very important step in the process. The next step is just resources. And Weston, if I could turn it back over to you just to give a very brief description of the resources we have for folks.
Yes. So if you were able to log into the platform at this time, you'll see at the top of the dashboard a button that says MAP Help Portal. You can sign up for this. We really highly recommend you sign up for this because this is the region where you'll be able to, without signing in, actually be able to create help tickets. So that's huge. If you experience any difficulties, if you, in any way, if you want to just reach out and, ask for a feature request or whatever it may be, this is the spot where we can support you best. Also, if you turn your attention to the bottom right corner of his screen, that little doodad there I am. So we are there for you at all times. You can see Dr. Lee was testing the chat and also uses that chat when he finds problems in the system. So we're there for you and we just reach out whenever. So there are people behind there, by the way. So just know you will be reaching somebody. And if we can't help you right away, then we'll submit a ticket for you and we'll keep you updated. But if you go to this screen, you'll see Dr. Lee's actually already logged in as a user. So there are a couple different resources for you if you do log into this portal, sign up for this portal. The solutions has your user guide, MAP user guide. That's probably the biggest question on everyone's mind is, how do I use this platform? This user guide is everything that you would ever want to know and more about MAP at this time. So it's your ultimate resource. So please download it. Feel free to study it, use it as your map Bible, and then and ask us if you have any questions too. If there's something that's confusing, or if you're like, seems inaccurate, reach out, submit a ticket, submit a chat, and we'll be there to help. So that's your portal access. The forums that Dr. Lee was just pointing at is a place for you to go and to really develop this community of MAP users. If you're experiencing a certain, any kind of pattern at your school, or if you want to share a success, or you want to reach out and ask somebody else at a different college kind of what they're doing, and it's specific to MAP, this is the place to go. So we've kind of set it up for you. We'll continue to push out announcements here. Again, you can view your tickets here if you've submitted support tickets. Dr. Lee has probably some in his queue as well. So you can review your tickets, see the status, all the communication. Yeah, he's been using it. And we will definitely get back to you. So again, the instructions are in the ambassador module, how to sign up for this. Once you sign up once, save those credentials, you'll have access to it at all times. So again, we highly recommend that.
Great. Okay, let's switch gears now.
May I ask a question before we move to something else? Do users with a faculty role have the ability to see the catalog? I know you mentioned they cannot edit it, but can they view it? And if so, where would they see it in their side?
Yes, they can see the catalog. And currently we have that module not showing just yet. We're going to roll that out in a phased rollout in a couple of weeks, so that you'll be able to see the program and the course descriptions for all roles. We'll be able to see that. We have, just so you know, we have several modules not showing right now, because we want to keep your focus on creating articulations at the current time. And as our phased Fridays come along, we'll open those up to you and begin to dive into those with you. But that's a great question, Araba. Okay, let's see. Calvin, can you bring up the PowerPoint? All right, let's have some fun now. Let's see, did we have we'd like to demonstrate how to pair and approve articulations. So let's see, Weston, I think we're going to have your screen brought up.
Yes. Okay. Keeping me on my toes today. So I will sign in. Which college shall I be signing into?
I think we checked with Cypress, and Cypress said it would be okay if Cypress is in the house. Okay. We'd like to do our first articulation with you all, maybe using their data rather than ours, because it'll be a blank slate to work with. Terrence, you want to add something?
Yeah. Just in each district is going to be different, right? So we wanted to select a college that was a single district with, or not that had their own curriculum that didn't need to go through a district approval process. Some colleges are in a multi-district situation where you need to approve at the college level and then at the district level, like Riverside, have 3 campuses. So it makes it, there's a few more steps. So we wanted to find someone that could approve on their own campus to make it smooth. I also want to point out that those that didn't attend our second annual military CPL summit this last fall, the CSU presented at that event their new executive order 1036. Very important for our system. We all had a lot of fears and trepidation with CPL until the CSU actually gave us the green light, as long as we transcript. So I'm going to add that to the chat so you have it in your back pocket to use when you have faculty that are very fearful of doing any articulation based off of transfer policy. Oh, Calvin already got it. Thank you, Calvin. Weston, floor is yours.
Yes. Okay. So I will try and talk you guys through this process slowly. So here we have, so I have not shared my screen yet. Here I have the MAP dashboard. If you have not yet logged in, this is what you will be seeing at your college. So at the top of the screen, I'm not sure, I was answering a lot of messages, so I'm not sure if Dr. Lee really took everyone through the dashboard. Should I go through it? Oh, you're muted.
There we go. I'm back. Okay. So yeah, this is the home page for MAP, and this would be where you're doing most of your work. So up at the top, we have the Create Articulations block, and let me get my annotator on here.
Oh, really quickly. Well, I'm not signed in as a Cypress member yet, so I will do that after you explain the dashboard.
Okay. So up here in the Create Articulations block, this is where we would search for one of our courses in the catalog. And you would select a course. And once you do that, you would select a credit recommendation that you think would match that course. And then you click search. And so before I do that, why don't you go ahead and change your login, Weston, to Cypress. And I think Weston's going to log in as the Cypress evaluator.
Yes.
Yeah, and we're going to pretend we're the Cypress evaluator. So please forgive us, Cypress College. But we're going to give you a freebie out of this too. So.
Okay. So we will log in and then perform our search. Again, everything is central to this dashboard that you would need in MAP. So it makes it super easy for you.
Okay, let me say, Patrick, are you in the room? Patrick is the evaluator at Cypress.
Yes. So
he's not in the room, so we can say anything we want now.
Okay, so
let's take a look at Spanish. Weston's going to bring up Spanish, and before you choose the course, Terrence and I were talking, and Spanish is a pretty universal articulation that we think all the colleges could make because it has a unique, it's a unique training that the military does, and it's been looked at and has been determined as equivalent to both Spanish 1 and Spanish 2. So anyway, let's choose SPAN. By typing in SPAN, we'll choose the SPAN 101C, the 5-unit course, I believe. Yeah, Spanish 1 right there. And now on the credit recommendation side, just type in SPAN and see what happens. It's going to search. Now, before you select anything, Weston, it's actually doing a search, and we've categorized all the courses by top code. So it only is going to look for courses that fall within the top code of the course that you chose on the left side. So it's not going to give you the full list. It's going to narrow it down for you in a nice way. And so in this case, we're going to choose 12 hours in intensive beginning Spanish and click search. And so before you move too much further on this left side, let me get my annotator back. And over here is where you find all that descriptive data that we ask you to put in with your course, and the title and the catalog description would go right here. Right now, we just have a placeholder, Elementary Spanish 1. And you have the top code. If you had student learning outcomes, they would pop in right there. If you have a catalog description, it would pop in there. If you had program learning outcomes and program description, they would all pop in down here. So as much as you put in will be shown over here on the left side. Over on the right side is the ACE credit recommendation. Here we've chosen this intensive beginning Spanish. There's one occurrence of that in the whole ACE database. There's only one ACE course that has this credit recommendation. So this is a very unique one. And it happens to be this credit recommendation, this ACE course right here. Spanish QB, Special Operations Forces Basic Military Language. What in the world is that? Well, if you want to know, you just double click on that exhibit, Weston,
Yes, sorry, I was reading the chat.
Don't read that chat.
I know, it got distracted.
And when you double click on the exhibit, it opens up all the details for you. So you can see what in the world this is. There's that highlighted 12 hours in intensive beginning Spanish. It's highlighted for you because that's the credit recommendation you chose. And you can see the description of this if you'd like to read the description. This is all put together by ACE Military Guide, and it's pulled from their database. Tells you when the training was available. It's 713 hours of training. It's 18 to 19 weeks. So it's pretty intensive training.
So it's 12 hours per week. Is that what the recommendation is stating there?
Yeah, this is a little unusual one, and we chose 12 hours. Terrace, you want to say a little bit about that?
Yes. So what's important, and maybe I'll go back to kind of the rudimentary with this with ACE. The way they review is they bring faculty cohorts of 3 or more faculty out to the military installation, or now sometimes they're doing it via distance Zoom. They review the curriculum. They do interviews with the instructors. They look at lecture time equivalent, cut scores and testing mechanisms and measurement tools. What's really interesting in this from our language faculty that I've worked with that reviewed this, they noted the proficiency in ACTFL, which is really important to them, the measurement of skill acquisition. The reason it's showing 12 hours recommendation is if you look up at the 713 hours of the length of the course up there, it's basically lecture hour equivalent. What's to note with languages as well, most of our military who have done language work either did the DLPT, which is a standardized assessment, or they've done Defense Language Institute, which is up in Monterey. It's an accredited institution, so it would work just like a UCLA course or a USC.
We do get the Language Institute coming in over to Merced College, and we just grant them a straight equivalency based on that, or a reciprocal value to fulfill an area instead of going the route of military eval.
Yep. Yeah, because it's accredited, so it's just like taking at West Point. But these, the reason we selected this course specifically is it's considered non-collegiate. It's at the Special Warfare Station. Though commonly they use, I believe it's NC State, but they use university professors to come in. It's actually considered non-collegiate, and that's why ACE has to review it over on the East Coast. So.
Okay, so we chose 12 hours. You're actually going to get a twofer in this. We'll explain it in just a bit. But let's close that description, Weston, and let's go ahead and add a note. First, articulation. Yeehaw. Okay, and then we're going to articulate it. And these articulation credits have been created. Good. And we're going to set the next level that it goes to, which by default is the next level, which is faculty. So you don't even really have to do anything there. But if you want to add a note, you can.
And then you can also adjust the title as well if you want to specify more directly exactly what this articulation is for but it's already populated, so no need. And then you submit.
Now that's going to go to the faculty in their inbox. And so what Weston is doing right now is she's logging out, logging back in as the faculty member, the faculty reviewer at Cypress, which we set up, and that is Faculty One Test. So that's the name of their faculty approver.
So I can double click. My notification center is also a great place to go for quick articulations. So I'll open my notifications, and then I double clicked on the articulation that had just been sent by the evaluator, and I can see it here.
Okay, let me slow you down just a bit, Weston. So right there in this my notifications, it's just below the place where you searched. If you scroll up just a little bit, Weston. Yeah, so let me clear that. Here's where we just searched all that stuff. There's a this, if you click on this header, my notifications, and you're the faculty member, you'll see that you have notifications. And so you're not going to get an email. It's going to be in here. When you open that, over here is what we would ask them to approve or not. And so here's where the faculty member is going to open this up and see that what has been created. And they can choose to, here it's been created at the evaluator stage. It has a green checkbox and it has a timer on the faculty one. That means it's sent to faculty. The timer's begun. And the next level is Articulation Officer and Implementation. So right now we're going to pretend that the faculty says this is a great idea and approve it.
And again,
they could deny it, they could return it, or they could archive it.
Yes.
But in this case, they're going to approve it and they're sending it to the Articulation Officer with another note. I approve. You don't have to have a note.
No, but it is helpful to keep track because there is an audit trail attached to all of these. So if you are really thorough and then you're confused one day and you go back, much more helpful, especially if you are a little scattered sometimes, like we all.
Every action in MAP is stamped and has an audit trail. So even if something gets messed up, you can follow the audit trail back and restore things.
And then before I move forward, I know Michelle raised her hand. Was it according to this? Did you have a question?
Yes, I was just wondering, because this is a transfer particular course, it's a UC and CSU transferable course and can also be used for the major. I know that you'll have to just transcribe it in terms of CPL military credit on the transcript, which the UC may not accept.
Right.
But is it possible to have in this approval process where faculty can approve a course with credit for, with a credit by examination attached to it? So the only way they'll approve it is to have a credit by examination test, which the UC will accept, and the CSU with that. I worry a little bit about that transfer element of it.
Yeah, that's exactly why we want the AO notes here as well. So you might want to put, Michelle, a note on here about that, so that when the counselor or when they're doing their degree check at the end, they can determine whether or not they want to apply this particular credit to their degree. But nevertheless, I believe you can upload. Would it be something where you want to attach a document of a document?
Maybe. I think that the process can be different at each campus. So maybe it would go with the Articulation Officer, which could provide information to the faculty about this particular course and things that they need to be aware of. And so the faculty themselves can make that determination if they want to do it with credit by examination, because then that involves them creating a test of some sort. And so if they're willing to do that.
Yeah, and in the future, we are adding credit by exam as one of the forms of CPL that MAP would house. So rather than military credit, we would list all your different types of assessments, as well as defined credits by exam opportunities.
And Dr. Lee, I want to hit on that as a counselor by trade, that it's important that the students still work with their counselor. We bring up the UC, but private institutions are all over the map with what they'd accept for credit for prior learning. We hope in years to come, there's more and more acceptance of credit for prior learning, and seeing the CSU system move in that direction, I feel more confident in the years to come, more private institutions will swivel. Who knows with the UC, but those notes are very, very important. And also when you transcript, having clarity on what type of CPL there is very important.
Yeah, that's great, Terrence. And it should be noted too that just because an articulation is in MAP does not mean it'll be transcripted for that student. That's a decision really that is made between the student and their counselor, and whether they want to apply that credit to their program. Okay, so we're going to submit that. It's a great question.
Thank you. And then we will, so we've moved it on to the next stage, which was Articulation Officer. I'm going to sign in as this campus's Articulation Officer, as they have been set. Jackie, if Jackie is in the room, I am you now. And I'm going to expand this. It's the same type of flow. Again, everybody has their eyes on it. They're looking to approve this, make sure they all agree, and then to move it forward into implementation. So again, the table below mirrors what is in your notifications, what has been sent, but the notifications hub would probably be the most direct way to get to these articulations. And again, we can expand it out and see that we are now waiting at the articulation stage. So once again, I will approve and I will send this over into that final stage of implementation. Where it will then
check the box.
Oh yes, thank you. Where it will be approved, and you can see all the notes, which is super nice. Everything's it's just listed out for that audit trail. So approve. And then almost there. And it's going to that final stage of implementation, submit it, and then I will finally go back in. And I believe I'm just going to go into this. I think I can do this.
Peggy is a narco.
Yeah, so I didn't have the
oh, I see.
Yeah, so I went in a roundabout way, sorry about that. But you can still see I'm in the implementation stage now, or I will be seeing this elementary Spanish in the implementation stage. And you can see down here, sorry, it's small, but all of those green check marks is what you want when you're trying to articulate all the way to the bottom. That means it is implemented.
So that's a life cycle of an articulation in MAP. And we wouldn't even be done there because we could go then back up if we were the evaluator. If you could log back in as the evaluator.
Okay, so I have, let's see, I forgot who was the evaluator. Let's see, I got so many names in here. It was Patrick, I believe.
Yeah. So let's say we're not done because that was 12 hours. It was 713 total hours. Our experience in the field tells us that also articulates as Spanish 2. So you might add Spanish 2 up here, Weston.
Spanish.
Yeah, Spanish 2 right here.
Thank you.
And back to span. Same 12 hours. And we just do it all over again.
Yeah. And then you can view it again, see that. And then articulate. I don't want to go too far though. Do you want me to perform another articulation, or
go ahead and articulate it and we'll leave it at that. We won't go the whole
okay.
We won't go the whole way.
Okay. There we go. We'll just start it for you guys. But again, notification that this articulation has been created. And then again, we'll be pushed to that faculty stage. Did you want me to continue?
Yeah, go ahead and click submit there.
Okay, I'm just gonna say, well, I guess I'll just do articulate. I want to make sure that this is taken note of. Okay. Just in case, for there.
Okay, and then if we wanted to, we go right back here and type in span again.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we're showing the recognition.
And we would notice there's Spanish for Spanish speakers 1, which if we decided we want to articulate that with the same thing, we might do that. Again, you'd probably want to do this. This would be done from the expertise of the evaluator, or depends on who does this at your campus, at your college. It might be the AO, might be a particular counselor who's a CPL specialist, might be an evaluator who knows this. So they would work from their level of expertise, and they might say, yeah, Spanish 201C also works. And then again, maybe Spanish, what's the other one if we typed in Spanish for Spanish speakers 2? So you might get 4 out of this. And I believe Terrence also at Saddleback, did you give the cultural component?
Yeah, it was based on the faculty members' consideration of cultures as well, which was a different GE area. So it wasn't just area C, it was some units in area D. So it's all going to be based off of your faculty and your AO at your local environment, what their considerations are from the ACE recommendation, because there's a couple good questions that are going on in the chat, but your local GE, your native GE pattern for your associate's degree might look different than the college, down the freeway. So where they can map some of those courses, though the course, the CID might be the same, or it might have a similar title, the mapping of general ed or major coursework is likely going to be different.
Yeah, I noticed in the chat someone says it's going to be fun when with the CCs get the common course numbering system going, and that's for sure. We're building in the capacity for common course numbering in MAP right now because we see the need. We'll show you in just a minute how you adopt course articulations from one college to the next. And right now we're basing that on CIDs, but there's not enough CIDs for all the courses, of course. Not all courses have a CID. And so one of our long-range plans is to create course descriptors, common course descriptors in MAP. As we start to see multiple articulations, the same articulations happening at multiple colleges, we'll then be able to triangulate those descriptors and come up with common course descriptors. That'll be a lot of fun. Maybe we can shift gears now. We're running out of time. We've got about 15. No, we have 2 minutes left, don't we? Oh my, okay. Well, we have our agenda is going till 11:30, then we're going to give you a 15-minute break, and we thought we'd be able to demo by this time. We made our way through what we really hope to show you today, which is this. But we want to give you a quick demo on how to adopt articulations from other colleges, our military intake module, and uploading JSTs. So I think what we'll do is we'll stick with our schedule, give you the break, and we're going to push this into our practicum time, which is optional. We know you guys are all scrambling for spring, but not all of you are. Some of you have already started spring, so this is not such a bad time. Let's take a 15-minute break and come back at 11:45. We'll leave the meeting open. And anyone who wants to join us, we'll do that demo, and then we'll hang around and help with more practice with our articulations. And so for that, this would conclude our go live presentation, and the rest is going to be all optional. But thank you all for coming and attending with us. Again, stay in close contact with Brooke and Weston and Calvin, and we'll work out the rest of those access issues for you today. We should be able to work out all other issues with your COKI courses today as well. And so our goal is to have everyone with successful login and successful access to your COKI files and your upload files and the ability to articulate today. Any last words from the team members before we go on break?
Yeah, I would recommend, if you do have any existing articulations that you've done pre-map that your veterans counselors or your evaluators have done, that might be nice to have in your pocket during the practicum phase or even on one of the future Friday office hours. Many of our institutions do have military CPL that we've done with our manual process back in the day that we can bring along. And once you load it into MAP, when you learn how to adopt other colleges or review other colleges' articulations, it's going to be very helpful for the state. So don't leave those ones latent behind. Bring those articulations with you.
We will send this PowerPoint out to you as well later today, and you'll have all the resources that has included as well. So let's take our break, and we'll see if any of those of you want to stick around, we'll see you at 11:45. Welcome back, everyone. We still have 77 brave souls here with us, so that's good. Okay, maybe we could, let's get started back. Before we leave articulations, go back to the articulations. and see if anyone has questions on this before we leave this. This is where we want folks to feel more comfortable. Folks feel comfortable with this screen and what's going on here from today forward. So maybe if we just pause a moment as folks are coming back and see if anyone has any questions. Thank you, Terrence, for that Title V citation on the course.
And just so folks know, that is the title, that's a portion of the Title V 55050, yet we currently already, based off of CSU policy, award Area E credit for a DD 214, as well as many institutions have been giving electives for years. And so that's allowed for within Title V. Now, how that goes through SIS and the MIS reporting, I can't speak to that. That's not my side of the house. But I can let you know from a counseling perspective, electives and then certain type of GE can route through. What's also of note, and I can add the TES for this, there's already at least 3, if not more, CSUs that give GE credit. So it's an interesting dynamic that needs to be worked out between the systems based off of military CPL. Kevin, I saw you did have your hand raised.
Hey, Terrence. Hey, Dr. Lee, thank you for doing this. My question was, is there some sort of, for lack of better words, like a flow chart that I can show, because on my side of the house, I believe like the articulation officer, we have a lead evaluator, and they're all concerned about their roles and how this is supposed to work. So I guess I want to be able to explain it to them in simpler terms. And that's why I'm thinking of a flow chart to basically, explain like, okay, student walks in with, joint service transcripts or whatever it is. Then from there, what happens, right? Like, does the lead evaluator have to go to the faculty chair of that particular department, whether it's like accounting or math or whatever it is, Spanish, and then they have to approve it and then it gets put in here? Or is basically that's what I'm trying to understand when we try to input this stuff into the system. Is there something like that we could follow, or what is Norco doing, or what is the normal flow of how things go? That's my question.
That's such a great question, Kevin, because I wonder if there's a normal flow. We have our flow and it works for our district and how we've cooked our soup for the last 30 years. But everyone does it a little differently. And I would want Janelle maybe to comment on this. And it brings up something I'm hoping that can come out of our community of colleges, our MAP cohort, that maybe we'll develop best practices. That, Kevin, maybe if you had a draft flow chart you threw together, share it with the evaluators and different folks in the cohort and say, hey, how this worked for years? How would we tweak this? Could we come up with a best practice recommendation for this so that other colleges could adjust, based on what we recommend as a best practice? But I know, is different colleges define the roles historically differently. And Terrence and Janelle might want to jump in on this.
I'll take a stab at it, Dr. Lee. So I think it just depends on where you'd like to start. So if you want to go ahead and start with all of your new students and evaluate them that way through MAP, so you can determine maybe the most credits that you can provide to those students without having them waste any time. That's a great starting point. However, if you already have existing students that are maybe in that CTE area, that you can go ahead and ensure that they'll receive credits based on their occupation, you might want to choose that as your lowest hanging fruit, because you may have more of those students in that CTE pathway to go ahead and grant military credit. Now, there's also another area where you can start at, where you can build your list of vets in MAP itself, and then utilize the outreach campaigns. And then you can outreach to those vets who may not have even known that you have the military articulation platform existing at your institution. So there are different points in which you can start this project. It really is up to the college to determine where is the best starting point. At one point at Norco College, we tried doing maybe this outreach starting point where we can go ahead and load up all of our potential vets and then send an email to all of the students to see if anyone would choose us over another institution based on the military articulation platform. Well, it turned out that that's not really the best solution because we had existing students here, and I knew that there were a lot of our vets here who were just dying to get out early, and so we decided to pivot so quickly and then utilize our population and use that as our secondary starting point. So it just depends on where you feel like the best opportunities are at your institution, and then maybe go from there. But in terms of a flow chart, having an understanding of the 4-step process would lead you to create your own flow chart based on your starting point. But feel free to reach out to us because we'd definitely be interested in helping out create that flow chart for you. And then hopefully based on that starting point and based on some of our experience in MAP, we can go ahead and craft it together.
Yeah, Kevin, was you're probably thinking, how do I set up a workflow with my evaluator, counselor, AO, faculty involved, who starts the dance and where does it go? And does it fit with certain job descriptions appropriately? And I don't know, is that where you're thinking?
Yes, just because, because I just look at the way it is set up now at Santa Monica College. So like, for example, I'm the lead counselor for the Veteran Success Center, but then I have 3 other adjuncts, and I look at, whenever we get transcripts, we try to evaluate them like on the spot because we don't want students to take them, take classes again. Technically, they're not supposed to anyways, but sometimes the students will just submit their transcripts directly to the college, and they get, either they get denied because we don't have a platform, like let's say they submitted a JST. So our evaluator will be like, I've never seen this before. Like, I don't know, they can't use this. And so I'm trying to figure out how we could kind of, that's why my only thing that I thought of was a flow chart, because I'm thinking like, okay, if we explain this to students, like, bring your JSTs to us or whatever it is, right? And then from there, am I moving that forward to the lead evaluator or articulation officer? And then how are they supposed to reach out? Like, we have like nursing students that were combat medics, and a lot of them complain because they're like, well, I pretty much did something short of like open heart surgery when I was in the Army, and now I have to take these classes again, and I already know what I'm doing. So those are like the ones I'm trying to kind of push through, right? Or like military police and criminal justice, those. So I'm trying to think of how would the flow look when they walk into the VSC, give me their transcript, and then from there, what do I do with it? Do I give it to the evaluator, the articulation officer, or do I go straight to the head of the department, right? The chair. And so that's what I'm trying to wrap my head around it. So sorry, I'm just venting at this point.
Oh no, Kevin, I totally appreciate that question. I think it makes sense from your perspective, and really trying to give that guidance, right? I think the military articulation platform intake, student intake piece would really help. I think we're gonna try to demo that, or at least showcase what that's capable of, but that's where we can actually upload JSTs, we can upload SEPs, we can upload DD-214s, and then based on that occupation from that particular student, and based on where you're at in the articulation at your campus, it could spit out with the total number of credits that the student could earn as a result of their occupation. And based on, provided that you're, further along in terms of the number of articulations completed at Santa Monica, that could potentially it could yield the total number of credits that person can receive through the military articulation platform without kind of wasting any time, and it's instantaneously. So that might be a good starting point. I know that doesn't really solve the issue that maybe your college has not quite adopted yet. But once you adopt articulations, maybe from existing colleges, or you may already have some that you just need to enter in, that's probably what you need to do next in order to give that the student population the opportunity to give them the most credits.
And just to add to Mark's response, at Norco College, we kind of do have a preliminary workflow of the veteran certifying official letting me know that a student has opted in. At that point, he'll send over the JST. I'll review the JST and see if there's any courses or occupations that I feel would possibly benefit sending forward to the faculty. So do I see a comparable course on the JST, doing a preliminary review? At that point, I'll ask, what's his major? What's his program of study? If there's any type of relevant credit, then we'll move forward with the faculty approval process. If it's general elective that might be able to benefit that student best, then we'll go that route. So it kind of just depends on, having that communication with each other, and then, seeing what benefits the student in that process also.
Thanks, Janelle. And we have the intake we're going to be able to show you in just a minute or two. And I noticed that
3 questions. Melissa, Juan, and
I think Melissa was first, right? Thanks, Calvin.
Hi, I was going to speak to the conversation going on in the chat related to the reporting of this data when you're awarding pseudo courses. I know that's a past practice for many of the institutions, if not all of them. But the statement in Title V, as I interpret it, the first line of D indicates that the course must be a cataloged course. And the MIS new reporting for SY file does require the course to be in COKI, which then eliminates our opportunity to award pseudo courses. And the statement related to electives or major GE areas is a statement in reference to how the course should be awarded to students, not necessarily which course the student should be offered, because it already says that the offered course must be a cataloged course, not a course outside of your catalog. So I just wanted to mention that, because the MIS file will error. We've already seen it.
You've already seen that?
Yes, absolutely.
That's actually not great news, so we would have to see if there is some way to address that.
And Dr. Lee, Janine did mention in the chat that we are not reporting the pseudo courses for MIS, only COKI approved. So
yeah, you can't report the pseudo courses for MIS. That's the errors we're receiving.
So we're not doing that. We're just posting the general elective credit to the transcript. So it's not technically a pseudo course. We're just coding it as elective credit.
Got it.
I will say, in terms of transfer and transcripting, I put in a private message with someone. I literally had one of my student veterans transfer with 17 units of elective that were used to complete their ADT units. That just happened last semester to Cal State Fullerton. So, we transcripted, they were able to transfer on. And many institutions are transferring students on with those elective units. Now, the reporting side of it, if that needs to be corrected within Title V or the way it's being interpreted at the Chancellor's office, then, hey, we're a collective here, and maybe we need to put that push in.
And we are going to have a Friday where we dive into transcripting issues much more in depth. And so that's where we would lean on your collective wisdom as well to help us. There may be things that we need to advocate for as a cohort, maybe changes to Title V, revisions to Title V, or even reporting procedures. Okay, can we, let's see, I think, John, you had a question.
Yeah, and I don't know how related it is, just one I thought of. Since you're in a multi-college district, if you have the courses with, if you have the same course at the 3 colleges, pick a number like Business 80 or something, and if one college grants military articulations for that course, like a set of them, do all the other colleges accept that, or is it on a college by college basis?
That's a district by district decision. Our district chose to have if 2 of the 3 colleges approve, it moves forward. Otherwise, it doesn't move forward. If it's a unique course to the college, it's not a shared course, then there's no multi-college approval. Right. That's how we work it. MAP is configured to give you the flexibility to choose the way you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, let's take a look at the intake process, and Juan Carlos is going to share his screen. And there we go. Juan Carlos, if you're there, you can pull that up.
Yes, hello.
Yeah. Hey, Juan Carlos.
Hi.
This is our student intake screen. So this was recently developed. Let me give you a little reason why we think this is important. This is developed for our VRC to give students who come to the VRC a chance to sign in, really, and tell us why they're there, and a chance to grab their information so that we can add them to the MAP database, so that we can then, if they qualify for MAP credit, we can track that, and we know the veterans that are eligible for MAP credit based on our database of students. So this is really important to have this. We want to also lean on this later to do MIS reporting, or to be able to do even local or community reporting on the credit for prior learning that we give our veterans. So anyway, when a veteran comes in to our VRC, they would sign in using this form. This is actually embedded within MAP, but we would have this on an iPad as a separate app, but it links to the MAP database. They will put their name and their information in here, including their branch and the reason for their visit. And then they would click next. Are you going to actually put it in, Juan Carlos, or can you go ahead? And I believe is the ID optional, or?
Yes, optional.
Okay.
Do I put an ID or just leave it there?
Yeah, just leave it blank.
Okay.
And,
okay. These are the branches.
Branch.
Yeah. I can select multiple options here for reason for visit. And he clicks next.
Okay, now here's where we would want to upload any documents that can be added to the database in MAP. We can upload their JST, for example. So if you click upload on JST, you can navigate to where you would store a JST and upload that, and it would store it in MAP. Not only does it store it in MAP, but you know JSTs are PDFs. They're not easy to parse or navigate, but MAP actually does parse all the data, pulls the credit recommendations and the ACE exhibits and the courses that they've completed, and it adds it to their student file in MAP, so you don't have to do that. So if you are a SCO in the VRC and you want to upload your JSTs, you could hire a student worker, a veteran student worker, to work with your current veteran students, and with their consent, gather their JSTs and upload them as a batch. So you'd have all your current veterans who consent to have their JST in the database to see if they have MAP credit. You can upload those all in a batch. It'll add them to your database, and it will also give you a list of the credit recommendations that they have, which gives you an opportunity to go looking for articulations based on those credit recommendations. That's one way you can jumpstart your credit for prior learning effort campaign, would be to gather as many current JSTs as you can, upload them into the system, and then see where you have recurring credit recommendations that you can go looking for possible articulations. And that would, actually, we did that at Norco, and that's how we've had our best stories. Our first 30 unit recipient of MAP credit came from that effort. And so we think it's useful. You can also upload their DD-214 and an SEP. If you have an SEP and you want to attach that, you can upload that. And so then they would have all of that in the system available for a counselor if you have a VRC based counselor, they would have all that at at the ready. They would then also add their occupation. So some veterans have one occupation, others have multiple. So here we're going to select driver, click the checkbox to add it. Yeah, just select one of those and click check. Let's select another one too. We have one of our recent vets had 3 MOSs. They were all basically MPs. And so we would want to add them all because they each have different credit recommendations associated with them, different skill levels. There you go. Add one of those. And let's click next. So now that's all up in the database. You can also track whether or not they've applied. You can add their program of study, which pulls from your drop-down of programs of study. So we'll just pick one. Game art, that's a great program of study. What do we put in the ed benefits, Calvin?
It'd be any of the chapters that the student may be utilizing.
Such as
NA.
Sorry.
Chapter 33.
Chapter 33, okay. And then it shows the JST submitted, the DD 214 submitted. Have they done their financial aid? You can just sort of track whether that's complete or not complete. These are just quick check boxes to see if they've completed their onboarding at the VRC. If there's an assessment associated with it, they do that. If there's a chemistry assessment or some other form of assessment. We don't really do many assessments anymore. And then click save.
Okay, it's already there in the system.
Okay. All right, and then let's go to current military students and see one more screen I want to show you. We'll select one of our students. Let's go to, and we're gonna. These are current students in our database, and
oh yeah, you got it.
There you go. That's good. Go back to that screen. So when you use the intake process, it'll analyze their eligible credits from what you have in MAP and show you the credits from the left side. Hold on just a second. On the left side are the military courses, and on the right side are the local college courses that you're giving them credit for, along with the units. And these are military course credits. These are military occupational credits. And there really doesn't, the distinction between these is not important. These credits come from an analysis of their military occupation specialization by ACE, and these credits come from an analysis, the same analysis of a particular ACE course that they've completed. Both result in credit recommendations. These are your GE credit, elective credits, and then total credits. So we believe that this will be useful in not only helping folks see what they qualify for, but helping counselors know where there are opportunities to get additional military credits. And after that, next, is there a next after that? That takes us back to the total credits right here are displayed for this gentleman. So let's close this one, Juan Carlos. Any questions on the student intake? Thoughts on student intake? Great, let's go on to adopt articulations. Pedro, can you?
John, question?
Oh, sorry, I must have missed it. For that last screen, you had the general elective credit. What was that again? Because they weren't corresponding to specific courses. Was that just? You're saying we'll give you
Those
units
were-
credit or
Yeah, Janelle, do you want to speak to that?
Sorry, what was the question?
It was about the general,
General elective credit.
right?
So those were maybe like a review that we did of their coursework or their military courses and their military occupations that maybe we didn't have like a direct equate or a course that would essentially fit one of our Norco College courses.
Oh, gotcha.
So we still issued general elective credit, so they would still, earn some type of credit in that case.
And that's where that Title V issue came up then. People were
Yeah.
talking about. Okay. All right. Thank you.
I have a question. This is Eileen from Monterey Peninsula College. Will the intake, I'm currently using SARS Track in my office to, for students who come into my office. Can those two programs be linked together somehow? Or no, are they separate?
Mark, that's your question.
Unfortunately not. So they're two separate programs. We tried linking QList. If many of you have QList, we've tried linking it to MAP as well, because it does have the stats that we can pull and the reporting features, the analytics, etc. But we weren't able to do that. So instead, we just decided to load up MAP with, instead of using other document imaging solutions, we decided to go ahead and just load it up to MAP instead. So we have one repository and viewing DD214, SEPs, etc. So no, unfortunately, the answer is no on that one.
Thank you.
And Eileen, for us, this has been an improvement, even though it's not linked to SARS Grid or QList. It's an improvement because we've been using paper for this process.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Well, and I think a note on this or a lot of the features is it's optional. So if you have an internal system and you don't want to like duplicate, you don't necessarily have to. There's a different way to upload the JST, or even just do course by course articulations and not have students or outreach joint services transcripts uploaded. But it's a nice option if you'd like to add that.
Yeah,
it's a great option.
It really is nice to be able to upload the JST and have it parsed for you and added to a database. John, did you still have, is that a new question? You still have your hand up? There you go.
Sorry about that.
No worries. I do that all the time. Pedro, can we look at the adoption module?
Couple ways we can get there from the home dashboard page or from the working menu. There we go. And right now I have logged on as Chanel from Norco College. And these are the college from the articulations from Riverside City College that are ready to be adopted. And there are a lot more probably from Moreno Valley as well. There you go. Yeah.
Can I step in right here? So what MAP does initially, because we're a multi-college district, we developed this really with a multi-college district in mind. So initially what you're going to be looking at is MAP's going to open up this adopt articulations, and it's going to match it's going to match MAG 44 in this case. It's looking for, hold on just a second, let me get I love to annotate. So, I guess I can't annotate right now, sorry. So it's looking for MAG 44 in the first case, and it looking at Norco's articulations and says, hey, you don't have any MAG 44 articulations. So I'm going to show you this from RCC and any other college that might have it. Now that works for a multi-college district because Management 44 is, we all use the same numbering system. MAP is not going to show you anything that doesn't match one of your numbers, one of your course numbers. So if you don't have MAG 44, you're not going to see this Management 44 class. So this view is really good for multi-college districts. There's another view though, which looks by CID. So if you could check that CID box there. Now this is a view of CIS 26 as an articulation at Riverside. The CID for that is, I guess, ITIS 150, Computer Network Fundamentals. So if you wanted to adopt that, if you have that same CID called ITIS 150, you could adopt this at your college. Can you show how that would work, Pedro? Oh, so you would just
Am I muted?
You're muted. Yeah, now you're back.
Okay. So you can adopt one or more from this screen. You can view it.
Oh, you can view only one articulation, it tells you.
Yeah.
This is what we call the side-by-side view, where you have your course information from your college on the left. See how much we have all this information in there with this, with the description and the SLOs and the PLOs all there. And in the middle is the description from the ACE course exhibit. And in this case, it's 4 units in Cisco systems that we're giving credit for. So that shows the recommendation criteria. So you can look in any one of these one at a time if you like to see what the description looks like. Or you can adopt them. Pedro, I'm looking and wondering if, is there a problem with this particular one? It's showing different college courses here.
Look.
I would expect this to just show one college course.
But I believe it is because it's articulated to multiple ACVs.
I see. So you're gonna, that's something you'd need to fix.
Yeah, it's supposed to show us at the correct recommendation level.
Okay.
Which
So this is not ready for use today, but if this were correctly linking just the CIS 26 with ITIS 150, and then your course, you could adopt that, and it would enter that onto your approval queue.
you may be correct. This might be just a matter of the CID being assigned to all these local courses. So this is enabling now to all these courses to be adopted because they are associated to the same CIS 26A from Riverside City College.
Are those, yeah, I don't know about that though. We'd have to look into that.
Okay.
Yeah. So this module is not quite, we need to do a little more work on this module to release it for you. But this is the idea. You'll be able to adopt by CID. And then in the future, within the month, we'll have an additional module within this that allows you to choose your course, match it up with our course or the available course, and create that adoption.
And I think just want to note, and AOs and evaluators in the crowd, correct me if I phrase this incorrectly, but if you do look at the CID database, many of your subjects only have a few courses in there. You may have 12 accounting courses, but only 2 have CIDs. So CID is great to search from, but it's also great to match by title and other aspects within the database of other colleges who have already done articulations and MAP. So it's not just based on the CID, there's other factors, but there's a lot of great content in here that you can kind of beg, borrow, and steal, then approach your faculty or your process to adopt those same articulations.
And there was a question as well, can you search by ACE ID? I believe you can filter by ACE ID in this yeah, this filter right here. That's where you are. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so we'll get into that one on one of our Phased Fridays soon, and we'll have the full functionality worked out for you when we do that deep dive into adopting. We really don't want you to adopt articulations, even if this were functioning perfectly right now. We really don't want you to do that just yet, because we want your focus to be on creating articulations and getting that process, that workflow, the business process, all the discussions going with your faculty, with your evaluators, with your counselors. That's also valuable. If you jump right to adopting, then all those, you leapfrog the discussions, and people might, they need to be involved in the articulation process. So they're co-owners with it. Other questions before we leave this?
I did have one texted to me that I'll just bring up. It was about recency and when the military training occurred. And there are features within MAP that you can toggle based off of the year the training was reviewed or offered by the Department of Defense. So you wouldn't take a computer science course from 1962. You might want one more recent, but there is functionality with that feature in MAP.
That's great. Pedro, can you go to our military students and maybe demo how you upload a JST?
Couple ways we can do that. Do it from here. Actually, let me log on. Another account. This is a list of all the existing students in the college. And from here, we can upload one or multiple JSTs for the vets.
So Pedro, if this would be that's okay. And so this would be if you collected JSTs from your current students in a secure file that you have, and you want to upload those into MAP as a batch. You can do it one at a time, or you can do it as a batch. So there we have 5 JSTs uploaded. And do you have to click a complete upload there? Okay. And one of those was take a look at one of those.
You want to run?
Yeah. Okay. So it uploaded the full PDF. Right here, right? And then it uploaded.
It did find that these ACE IDs were in their transcript.
It found those in the JST.
That's right.
So it added those ACE courses.
Oh.
And you should be able to double click and get in there. And then yeah. And then below, what is this add selected courses, Pedro?
If the transcript has additional ACE IDs that the parser or the program cannot upload, sometimes if this is just an image, the image might not be properly displayed in the PDF. So this gives them the ability to add additional ACE courses that they know that they're in the transcript, that they should be associated to this student.
I see, yeah. The JSTs come in various levels of readability as a PDFs. And so it might not be a perfect one for one, but it's pretty good. It does a pretty good job parsing the data from the JST into the system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then if there are any additional information about military courses in that transcript, this will allow them to add additional courses that might be appropriate for these students.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That looks good. All right. I don't know if anyone wants to try a practice Spanish articulation, if there's any brave souls in the house that would like to try a practice articulation. This is being recorded, so I won't blame you if you don't want to.
Is it reversible?
Wait, I'll go in and edit you out if you like.
Okay.
Bakersfield College. I'm
Armando,
game.
are you
Baco stepping up. I love it. It is reversible, and there's an audit trail, so you won't anger your faculty if they see it and you had to walk it back.
They blame me for everything else, so why not?
Why not? All right, Armando, let's see. You want to share your screen?
All right, let's try this.
This is living on the edge right here.
Let me refresh real quick, and then I'm going to share screen here. Wait, where'd it go? Oh, hold on. All right. Can you see my screen here?
Yep.
All right.
So Armando's at Bakersfield, of course. And so let's see.
And we're doing the Spanish.
Yeah. Just type in, there you go.
And then and then what did you say over here is the
just
search?
Span, anything with Spanish in it.
Okay.
And now this is a judgment call. We chose the 12 hours because we were going to do 2 off of it, and it had a bunch of hours. And we just knew that because Terrence told us that that's been successful. So it's up to you what you would.
I'm gonna try this.
Okay.
And this is, I know, something back when ACE presented at Palomar, we talked about, the units or the recommendation. Why would a faculty look at this 3-unit recommendation when ours is already 4? I don't know what the answer anyone has come up to, or the argument against that, or, so I thought that initially, you know.
Let's take a look at the exhibit, Armando.
Okay.
It's actually the one over to the left, a little further, right?
This is all I have that's clickable, right? I mean, oh, here, excuse me. Perfect.
And then double click on this. Yeah, there you go. You did it. Cool. Okay. That's 294 hours, 8 weeks. That's a lot of hours.
8-week course. We do that all day, right?
Yeah.
So that's an interesting one as you look at it, that it's broken down to 3 units in culture and civilization, and then 3 units in special topics. So because it's SALT T, it might be something a little different that they're teaching their crypto linguists, you know, different types of espionage on understanding culture and military events. So, you know, I would think this is probably a piggyback class that you take SALT 1 and SALT 2, which would be interesting to see at JST.
Because it's topics, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Special topics.
And this was the one that's highlighted because that was the choice I made, correct?
Exactly, yeah. So let's say you don't want to do that, and you you can cancel out of that down if you wanted to.
And do the same?
Yeah, do the same thing.
Intensive intermediate, 3 hours special topics, 12-hour intensive beginning. So that was the one I know we talked about before.
You know, you could go 6 hours in intensive basic too. I don't know.
Yeah, that sounds Spanish B1. And that's the SALT 1.
6 hours, and that is how many total hours? 740 hours.
19 weeks. That's
yeah. I wonder if that is just half of the 12 unit course.
It definitely could be. And something that you also want to look at, folks, is the date range of the exhibit, because the DoD changes their curriculum just like we do every so often. So they may add or subtract some things. You'll notice the current recruiters, a lot of the focus on Salesforce and non-public speaking items, where 5-10 years ago it was about public speaking. So their curriculum changes just like ours. So you really want to look at the date range of the training.
Hey, can I show you one more thing, or cancel out of this one, Armando? And then go back and do it again. Course span, pick the same course. Yeah, now go over here and do span again. And pick your 6 unit intensive basic one you just picked. Now type in span again. And pick the intermediate 6 hours. Yeah, that one. And type span again. And pick your 12-hour. And now go for it. Okay, now this gives you all 3. And maybe you want to do an or on these and say you could do this one, or you could get this one, or that one. So anyway, I think what you would do is see this. Yeah, that right there. Maybe an or, and then an or, and an or. Yeah, and then if you articulate that, you're going to be, yeah, now it's just going to send it along. And
so have you done 2 courses for faculty to review to award maybe one Spanish B1 class?
Yeah, well, we've done it in electronics, where we'll say, you know, this one is the 3 units of electronic credit recommendation plus a 1 unit. 3 units in AC basics and 1 unit in AC intermediate. but we have a 4-unit AC electronics class. So we put both of those together with an and statement and create the articulation. And then so the 3-unit and the 1-unit together are a good articulation with our 4-unit AC electronics.
And that will map after that, right?
Yeah, that'll map.
That's interesting, because I know we were talking about that on the form, kind of using the form Palomar created where they had partial credit check boxes, and we weren't sure how we were going to push that forward. If there was, well, with these 2 courses, it could equal this class. So
yeah,
I think we started off on the safe side just to say it would have to be a 1-for-1 and not and this as well. But as we're seeing here, there's more information available now for faculty to make decisions.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting. We've got all the credit recommendations now into one long table. And so now it's pretty, and we've got them categorized by top code. So that took a little while, but now it's easier to see all the different options you might have than before. You wouldn't know that there was 6 units basic, 6 units intermediate, 12 units basic, and you just wouldn't know that unless you had access to all the credit recommendations in the table and knew what to do.
Right. No, that's interesting. That's awesome addition there. I mean, for us, because I know we've only had the intro presentations here and there.
Yeah.
I do want to point out something in generality, just to be really clear. What Mondo is doing is we just pulled out a course, right? We're doing kind of a broad view of, hey, we're going to look at some subject areas that we know there's probably some clean articulations, maybe your AC/DC fundamentals or your auto tech or HVAC technician, some areas where you can get some matches to get some successes, a check mark to get some articulations. But the other route is really looking at your JST with your student. And I want to really be clear, as someone who's been a veterans counselor for 12, 13 years now, the JST, crazy idea, but the federal government sometimes gets things wrong. The JST is not always correct. So you do want to, I got nudged by a peer in the chat, you do want to make sure that the DD-214 and the JST match, and that the veteran does say that is the correct training on my JST, because they may have to do a revision and contact the DoD to correct that. I always like in MAP using a real student with a real JST, because then you can actually transcript something and it's meaningful rather than those kind of scattergun, a bunch of articulations out there. So those are the 2 different methods: clear articulations, maybe faculty that are receptive to it, or using those JSTs you have on hand for current students.
And I know you mentioned recency earlier. We all know, worked with veterans, my MOS school may be something I didn't do for the last 4 to 8 years, right? It was my initial training, but then I was assigned other duties. So, the part of the conversation that I would have with the student is, okay, that's what your MOS was. It does align with your current career or educational goal here at Bakersfield College, but how much electronics did you do? Do you feel you're confident to go into the next? And you'll have them if they were, man, I was doing escorts, or, I went to the school, but I was pulled to do other things. So that's a part of the conversation that I know we're having here. And I wanted to bring that point up.
That's a great point. I think it really requires a conversation with each veteran as to what they want to apply to their transcript, their program. And yeah, like you said, they may not be interested in, they may not have had great experience with their MOS. There was a question in the chat from James, likes the option of the and or. Can faculty member change an or to an and once they review it? Answer to that, great question, yes. What happens is the faculty member gets this from the evaluator. It says or. They want it to be or and. They can return it, click the button, return to evaluator, and with a note. Let's change that to an and. And then the evaluator will change that to an and send it forward again. And that's how you can do that at any stage of the game. Before it's implemented, you can send it back and have revisions done and then bring it back through the queue again.
I want to bring up another item with CTE areas and state or other type of licensure or credentialing. That's why it's really important to have your CTE faculty involved. They'll know if there are implications further down the road for licensing or credentialing, which maybe an evaluator or an AO or a counselor may not understand that specific program. So engagement with the discipline faculty, whether you have it in your routing process or not, is pretty darn important. Some licensing boards do not want CPL and some would be more open. So I never like to do these trainings without bringing that topic up. The more dialogue and the more inclusivity you have with CTE faculty, the better.
Well, great, folks. I know we've overloaded you with, or we've loaded you up with a lot of information. And can we bring back up to our, let me see if I can bring it up, our agenda, so that, you know, we're going to have more opportunities for you with our Fridays. So our next discussion, on this will be March 4th. And that we'll be talking about the articulation adoption model. And follow that up on March 18th with our veteran intake module with a more in-depth discussion. We'll send you this so you have these dates as well. In addition, we do have our Wednesdays and Friday office hours available to you. No appointment needed. We're just going to be on to work with you. If you encounter glitches along the way, we would encourage you to submit those on the ticket system on MAP. Each one, everyone that you find, please submit it. This is a crowdsourcing endeavor. We need your help. Our goal is to keep this free for the colleges to use in perpetuity. That's our goal. We want to have it free because we want to have no roadblocks between our colleges and the granting of the maximum credit they can for our veterans. So we want to try to do our best to have this not be a roadblock financially to the colleges. So one of the ways we can do that is by asking for your help in identifying bugs and glitches and helping us improve functionality. Also looking for just ways to optimize this. If you find in your process you need something else built in or changed or revised in MAP, we need you to tell us that. We also need, if you have particular expertise in certain areas where you can help us develop best practices, maybe it's in transcripting, maybe it's in transferability issues and dealing with the differentiating between UC or CSU, we need your help in developing those best practices. Not pressure, but it's an open door for each of you has a particular niche that we'd love to be able to build on in MAP. And so as you're going along, please don't be bashful in offering that. We're going to have opportunities later on to show you about the MAP uniform credit recommendations where we want to be developing over the long term, which we think will make this a much easier, simpler process moving forward. And we're going to be looking for your help in that as well. So I want to thank you for spending your time with us today, and maybe just ask our team and any of you if you have any last thoughts or questions before we take off.
Sam, I'll add that it was exciting today. I know we're a little bit less, but it was 3 hours of a lot of content. If you really just focus on cleaning up your MAP, kicking the tires in there in the system, and then, coming up here in the next few months, if we all add a few articulations in there and we're able to look over the fence and see the articulations from our peer institutions, we'll really rise the tide for all reentry students in all colleges. We have some obstacles. I've already gotten an email on some advocacy items that we can probably work on as a team, as a MAP team. But again, it takes all of us to work together to make our system open and really accessible to our reentry students. So thanks, guys. Here's to a really good 2022.
Thank you, Terrence. There's a question about Phase Fridays being recorded. They will be recorded. for you, so you'll know. Deanna, is that your question? Okay, great. We'll record everything and we'll post it up to our website and the knowledge base so that you have that, or the portal, the map portal, so that you have that. Anything from our team as well?
I had a question. You mentioned that, we can go ahead and test it out. So if we want to delete things that we create, we can go ahead and do that. Or do we have to reach out to you if we created some that we want to delete?
Pedro, do you want to answer that?
You can delete your articulations anytime. And remember, depending on where they are in the process, if they have submitted those to the faculty today, or you might have to coordinate that deletion, because if they're still working on that articulation, you don't want to delete it, right?
Yeah. And I think that's something we'll be working on too, is that delete process, and making sure that is that it's clear how to delete, but also that we have some safeguards in there to make sure you're sure you want to delete this. And there's an audit trail in there so that you could restore as well. But I think that is not perfectly clearly set up yet, but that's one of the things we'll be working on.
And I have another question.
Sure.
At my institution, the deans like to review articulation requests before it's forwarded to faculty members for a decision. Is there a way to create a new user type so that I could assign that dean level and add them to the workflow so that they can look at it and vet the articulation request before it goes to the faculty reviewers?
No limit for you to add users at any level in the workflow.
So Pedro, they could add let me think about that. So the suggestion is to add a role, a dean role. Mm-hmm. Could we use could we set the dean up as a faculty reviewer? Or, I'm thinking of using our existing structure with a 4-tier process. Could we, your process would be that it goes from the evaluator to the dean first before the faculty, or after the faculty?
Before it goes to faculty, it goes to the dean.
Okay.
So using your existing roles, could I have a faculty 1 and the dean be faculty 1, and then all the faculty reviewers be like faculty 2?
I think so.
So that it can start at faculty 1, start at evaluator to create the articulation request, then faculty 1 to vet it and forward it to faculty 2 if they approve it at that for review, and then faculty 2 to review it for articulation, then to the evaluator to implement.
That feature is not currently available, but I think it's a great idea. Should be able to insert, an additional tiers to the ones that we already have.
Yeah, I think it'd be probably best to insert a new tier, and they can name it whatever they want to name it.
Right.
Dean, chair, whatever level.
At this time, would we recommend that they are an ambassador within the platform so they have the full access to view everything?
Oh.
Because then they're a step above.
Sure.
The thing is, there'd be several different subject areas, and it wouldn't necessarily route to all deans or that specific, right? It would be subject areas or division specific.
Right. They would have to filter that if they wanted to view specific disciplines.
And I did see where in the faculty area, you can assign certain disciplines.
Yes.
So right now I actually have my deans in there as faculty with their respective areas. But from there, they're not the ones that are going to make the decision. They're going to forward it to the department chairs or faculty reviewers to make the decision. I don't want them to be ambassadors because ambassadors can change too much stuff. I want them to be faculty or deans so that they can see everything and route or vet the articulation request before they are actually reviewed.
I think we should have a new tier available. If you want to use it, use it. If you don't want to use it, skip it.
Great idea.
Thank you.
Yeah, can I ask that when we meet next as a MAP team, as our core team, maybe we discuss that, because there's going to be a lot of unique items like that, I'm guessing, at the different institutions with articulation routing.
Yeah.
So if I could follow up on Araba's comments as well, because in our credit for prior learning that we just, did a year and a half ago, for each of the different types of credit for prior learning, we mapped out what the process would be, using a form for getting these articulations. And we're looking at it like a student goes to admissions and records, right? And they submit it. Where does it go from there? And in our college, it doesn't go to an evaluator. It goes straight to the faculty to review. So we start with faculty, and then it goes to the division dean, who has to do their thing. And then it goes to, it goes through that process, right? Now we're going to have to talk about that and change it a little bit, because now we're talking about a whole process of trying to articulate a bunch of stuff before a student even gets to our door. Separate from what happens when the student comes to our door and we hadn't thought about something, right? Or we're not there yet. And so I'm trying to think about the routing within the confines, and we might need to change it up a little bit, or we might need to maybe take our faculty lead and say that she's an evaluator while we're trying to get this implemented. She launches everything, it goes to the faculty, but she's already had the conversation with them, right? So it's not like they're getting it cold. So I'm just trying to work within the structure and be a little bit creative. But, I think a dean, if we're going to be doing a student intake at some point, and it's going to go through the routing in MAP, we're also going to need a dean role. And I can't imagine we're the only college, along with,
Yeah.
the only two colleges need a dean. In some way, right? Like one, it could be first or second,
Yeah. I think we're going to need a tier that can be associated with disciplines, and if it's a dean or chair or whatever you want to use it as long as it can be associated with multiple disciplines, one or more disciplines, right? Then you'd have much more flexibility to do what you want to do.
Absolutely. So thank you for considering it. I just also want to say, since I have the floor here, thank you so much. I mean, I was excited in the fall when I saw this at the CIO conference, and I am even more excited today. So I want to thank everybody, the whole team, the Norco team, the Infotech Partners team. You've all been wonderful, and I'm still waiting for my courses to appear, but I know Pedro's working on them. So.
Make sure you get your courses in by what time today, Pedro?
Another 10 minutes and they will be there. Sure.
10 minutes, you say?
30.
30, okay. All right. John, you got your hand up.
Yeah, just a question. I guess it's to Sherry. Hi, Sherry. Long time no see. And Araba, what do you envision the dean role being in the workflow?
So I think the dean in our workflow currently is just part of our institutional practice, right? So between the faculty and getting to the admissions and records to, award the credit, the dean just does a review if they have questions. Sometimes we have our division chair in the process. It depends on what the credit is, right? So I think, credit by exam, the dean definitely has to sign off on, because then the admissions treats it like a grade change. And so some of it's just institutional culture, I think, more than, the dean's going to overrule the faculty member. That's not really going to happen. So there's some history here I don't fully, understand. I'll leave it there. Some of it's institutional culture.
Got it. Okay. Yeah.
And at Coastline, it's because we used to actually go directly to the department chairs, but then there was an imbalance between how many reviews were going to different faculty members. So the deans wanted to be involved in the process in order to control the volume and to control the flow, and also because especially if we would send it near the end of the semester, they would want to prioritize the work of the department chairs to say, okay, yes, evaluations, there are some evaluations there, but this project has higher priority. So the deans, they look at it, and some just, look at it and forward it right away. Some do some, reflection and analysis, looking at the whole context of all the different responsibilities that that faculty member has before they pass it along. So that has been just the process that we have established already. So whenever we have a new system, we say, okay, can it fit into the existing procedures that we've already laid out? And if not, what's going to need to change, our use of the system or our procedures? And then we have that conversation. So we definitely would need that two-tier element, how it's labeled. And, we recognize that other institutions may put it at a different spot, maybe before it gets locked into the evaluations. But for our institution, that makes a difference. Because actually we do use tests for their workflow to help the faculty members review it, because that's where they were looking at articulations for college coursework. So when we were going to have military coursework reviewed, they determined that they wanted to use the same platform that they're using for college courses. So we're going to have to wrestle with these two systems and say, okay, what are we going to use in which instance? And the ability for them to fulfill the roles of multiple types of credit will help us determine which system we use and which one will just be a repository for information, as opposed to which one is going to be the workflow that faculty are going to log into and use to facilitate review and consideration.
Right. Okay. Makes sense. Thanks.
I think that's an important note, though, using different systems and how much you use MAP, what you use MAP for. That's a later conversation further down the road, but I think it's an important one for those that have multiple systems is what's the functionality that's beneficial for your specific institution and what can benefit maybe the collective by using it. What's the impact? So, but that's for a few weeks down the road when we're already configured and off to the races.
Yeah, and Araba, we'll be looking to you to give us some leadership there, with your experience. You guys have particularly so many years in this, and we'll be looking for your recommendations along the way with that. Hey, just one thing to keep in mind as you're working with your evaluators or classified, if you're looking for classified help in your articulation process, you might think about using strong workforce funding, regional or local, to provide some OT. It's a great way, depending on your district and your college. It's a great way to at least put wind in the sails for this. So it's just something to keep in mind. And a lot of the metrics of strong workforce really align well, because so many of the articulations are CTE articulations. Even the GE ones are often applicable to CT certificates. But we're at time.
Dr. Lee, we have, I think, one more hand up. I see Kevin has his hand up, even though it blends in with the yellow back there.
Sorry about that. Yes, I just have, thank you, Mark. Thank you to all the presenters too. I really appreciate everything. Calvin, for going back and forth with me through the chat. But I know my team is going to have this question. How is the data secure on the back end? So like when we input the data in there, I know that one of the things they're going to come up and say, oh, is this going to be, like FERPA compliant because our information's out there, and, they're going to have all these questions. So how would we be able to collect the data? So like, for instance, the intake form, or when we input any of that stuff, right? DD-214, stuff that's very secure. How can I let my team know, like, hey, this is not an issue. This is a secure platform. It's just a question not really I care about, but I have a feeling they will.
Yeah.
It is a totally secure platform. It's FERPA compliance, and everything is stored encrypted in the cloud.
Okay.
And that is including the PDF documents that have been uploaded.
One thing we will have to work out is ensuring that the views of student data, of particular student data, is appropriate to the role. And so I think we'll also be looking to you as you use the tool to give us your feedback on, you know what, I don't think faculty have access to see a particular view, and I think they should not have that view, or whatever role it has a particular view of certain data. We'll look to you to help us hone that So we make sure that that our rules in the back end support the privacy of our students. So if you do notice something, you submit a ticket, let us know right away. Okay, thank you, everyone. Thank you. Long morning for you. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for your time. We appreciate you, and we're here for you along the way. We'll talk to you later. Have a great rest of your day.